Hello there, people of the internet. Today, I want to talk about 762 by 54R. This is a cartridge that is just so emotionally pleasing. If you're at all involved in the gun community, odds are you have some kind of experience with this cartridge. So, first things first, I'm going to tell you guys what it actually is. The 762 by 54R, it's a rimmed cartridge developed by the Soviet Union. Actually, no, it was developed before the Soviet Union. It was developed by Imperial Russia long time ago for use in their original 1891 pattern rifles. It sends a 150 grain bullet moving about 2,800 or so feet per second. It has about equivalent power and velocities and capabilities as that of 308, but it's got this big old rim on it, right? So it definitely is a more antiquated round in comparison to something like a modern 308. But that being said, it is still in use. I think that it is the longest running military cartridge that is still in use by militaries all over the world. And a lot of that has to do with not necessarily because the cartridge is really good, it just has to do with the fact that there's so much of it out there. This is one of those cartridges that is going to be around for our entire lifetime, not unless something goes really wrong. But if you are in the gun community, odds are you've been influenced at least a little bit by the 762 by 54R. Whether you love it or whether you hate it, you're going to have been influenced by it one way or another. I know a lot of people are going to talk about back in the day whenever they could get Mosin Nagant rifles for dirt cheap. Like, you used to be able to pick these up for very small amounts of money. And you used to be able to go out and get yourself, like, spam cans of 440 rounds of 762 by 54R, again, for dirt cheap. We're talking like 10 to 15 cents per shot. Dramatically less expensive to shoot this cartridge than it is nowadays. There's been a lot of deer taken with this cartridge. The Mosin Nagant was a lot of people's first rifle. It was considered the garbage rod because it was so inexpensive, but anyone who's actually gone out to get one of these, as long as you properly clean out the cosmoling and whatnot from the bolts and just do all the maintenance things that you're supposed to do with any new milsurp that's coming out of storage that still has cosmoline and oil and packing stuff on it. As long as you do all that to where your bolt's not sticky, then these rifles right here are actually exceptionally good rifles. They're not the most accurate of rifle. The Russians actually zeroed these guns with the bayonet attached because that was just their doctrine at the time. I wholeheartedly agree or disagree with that. I think that if you're going to go shooting your rifle, you shouldn't need another 2-foot piece of metal sticking out of the thing. But as a result of that, if you shoot these rifles without a bayonet attached, more often than not, they're going to be a little off, but it's really not enough for most people to notice whenever they're out there shooting these guns. These tend to be about 4 MOA rifles, so they're not exactly sniper rifles. That's about on par with the accuracy that you would get with most of your military service rifles for the time period. But none of that mattered because these were so cheap and so abundant. You could buy them by the crate. They were such a good go-to rifle for not a lot of money. You had the capabilities of having a full power bolt action rifle for just pennies. Pennies compared to what they are running nowadays. And whenever we look at these guns, whether you like them or you dislike them, it reminds you of that time. That time many years ago where you could go out and get crates of these for not a lot of money, or get the spam cans for not a lot of money, and you could have a lot of firepower. Whether you liked the rifle or not, it is a rifle that can provide firepower. You could have a lot of firepower for not a lot of funds, and it was just easy to do this. And back then, so many things were just so much easier than they are nowadays. Nowadays, life, just like, compare life today to life 20 years ago. Let's say it's 2005. It's 2005, you went down to your local gun store, you saw one of these for sale for 65 bucks hanging on the wall, and the guy's like, ah, that's just a garbage rod. It comes with a bayonet and some grease and a sling and all the stuff that you want with it. Ah, you want it, get it out of here. Tell you what, they got it for 65 bucks, I'll give it to you for 50. Take it home. So you take it home. I don't know, maybe you teach your son how to shoot with it, or maybe you take it hunting, go out and get yourself a deer with it, or something along those lines. Maybe you go out and you get yourself a whole crate of these things for like 600 bucks, like very, very inexpensive amounts of money. And you just kind of keep them on standby in the closet just in case something were to ever happen and you have to hand out some rifles or something like that. You have the good old trusty, robust Mosin Nagant. It was easier back then. Life was not necessarily better back then, but life was better back then. Not for everyone. Like, there are people out there who I'm sure are living better lives nowadays, but things just seem so much simpler. And whenever we look at these rifles and we think about the time where we used to be able to get these for dirt cheap, even the people that don't like them wished that we were still at that time, but just because of the nostalgia of that time. You got your rifle, like I said, 2005, you got your rifle, maybe you put it under the Christmas tree or something for husband, boyfriend, father, I don't know. And you crack open your Spam can. You get this big green hulking Spam can. They give you this really weird looking can opener and you're like, man, I'm going to use this once and then never again. So you open your Spam can, you set that in the garage or wherever, you lose it, and then you get another Spam can that doesn't come with one and you're like, where did that go? I'm going to have to buy another, aren't I? So you go out, you buy another, you open that Spam can. Then inside that Spam can, you pull out little packages that look like this right here, and you're like, it's like a little present. It's got the string on it. You pull that off. It's full of all sorts of different kinds of ammo. They had like the silver tip rounds. They had copper coated rounds. They had like copper washed rounds. They had light ball. They had heavy ball. They had all sorts of stuff. You can go in there and you pull out one of the rounds from this paper, and it's pretty. It's got like a red sealant on it, and man, it's just, this is a really nice little cartridge. You give it a smell. Smell that communism. Smells like paint thinner. Smell a little too hard. Gotta go lay down now. There's just the nostalgia of pulling one of these bad boys out of a Spam can, like a fresh Spam can. Sometimes they got that little string in there so you can pull it out easier. And you can just smell old factory Russia. Like, you just smell it in the air. And then you take your pack of 20 rounds or maybe a couple packs of this copper washed ammo, and you go out to the range and you settle in and you spend the next 6 hours just blowing apart beer cans, bang, bang, getting drunk, having a good time, and you're like, great, I spent 50 bucks on the rifle, another 50 bucks on the Spam can. I was out here all day. We only went through like 150 rounds because it's a bolt action rifle. So it's not gonna waste a whole bunch of ammunition. We were blowing up beer cans, had a good time, taught my son how to shoot. Man, those were the glory days. And whenever I think about the Mosin Nagant or 7.62x54R, that's what I think of. Back in the day, I used to come home from school, and I had not this Mosin, but I had a refurbished 9130, and I stuck about, honestly, at this point, like 45,000 rounds through that rifle. It's basically a smoothbore at this point. I've made videos on that rifle before. But I would just come home, and I would just spend my time shooting that rifle at whatever it is that I had. Oftentimes, I would take my round, and I would shoot it. And I would take that spent casing, and I would set it up at 15, 20 yards, wherever it is that I was going to set it up at, and I would aim at that, and I would shoot that cartridge like that spent case, and I would do that all the time, and I ran so many rounds through that rifle just doing that because it was fun. And that reminds me of just a time where I was able to enjoy life and I didn't have to worry about adulting. Now, there's other kinds of 7.62x54R, like sometimes you'll find ones that have like this green lacquer on them, or maybe there's like no lacquer and it's just going to be the straight steel case. And these really aren't all that accurate. There really is no Mosin Nagant ammo. There's no 7.62x54R ammo if we're talking the military surplus stuff, unless we're talking like sniper ammo. There really is no tremendously accurate ammo for this rifle, but the ammo that is provided for this rifle is accurate enough for the jobs of what most people are doing, and the jobs of what most people are using these rifles for, especially back then, was basically just mag dumping into garbage and having fun. Every now and then, maybe you'll find some brass case ammo, and you're like, oh, that's the good stuff. That's the stuff that I want to save for a special occasion for my Mosin, because I can go out and get the cheap steel case copper wash stuff for like 15 cents a shot in the Spam cans. But this stuff right here, this is coming in like the fancy cardboard box. In this particular case, this is also surplus stuff, but at the time it would be like modern production if you were looking at brass case ammo, because a lot of this really wasn't on the market. But you're like, oh, that's the nice Mosin ammo. I wonder how accurate it is. I wonder how smooth it is. And whenever you go shooting brass case Mosin ammo through a Mosin, you just feel good. And it's that feeling that I love about the cartridge. The nostalgic feeling of knowing just all the fun that you had with these cartridges back in the day, and how cheap it was, how comfortable it was to be able to go out and shoot a lot of ammo and not absolutely break the bank, or the satisfaction of loading brass ammo into a Mosin. There's just something special about that. And that's what this video here is. I just wanted to go ahead and talk about the nostalgia of 7.62 by 54R. Every single time I break out a Mosin, I get taken back to those days, and I'm betting that a lot of you guys feel exactly the same way. Thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below is a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go up. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode.
Been a little while since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.